Doubt Peter Schiff has anything that he really wants to say about the U.S. dollar. Actually, no. Peter always wants to comment about the dollar. Let me just tell our viewers that today the dollar is pretty much steady versus the euro, even in light of the Fed minutes. Right now the dollar's at $1.4789 against the euro, Peter.
I hate to tell you, I hate to disagree, but it's not steady. It's plunging to a record low, not only against the euro, but against the Swiss franc. This is the first record high for the Swiss franc in some time, and that's a real flight to quality currency. But you know what this means? If OPEC starts pricing oil and other currencies, this is really an end to America's free lunch. You know, Eric said earlier that it wasn't the weak dollar that was pushing up oil prices. He's wrong on that. It is the weak dollar, but it's also the weak euro. Even though the euro's at a record high against the dollar.
Strong euro, right?
No, it's the euro is losing ground against gold. See, the problem is we are exporting our inflation all over the world. Because we're printing so much money, all the world's central banks are being forced to print a lot of money, too, to prop up our currency. That's what's generating inflation worldwide, and that's why oil prices and gold prices are both rising. It's all because of the inflation that the Federal Reserve is creating and that we're exporting to the rest of the world.
By the way, we want Eric to get in here to answer your charges, but first I got to ask you, Peter, do you believe, as Ron Paul does, that in a perfect world we should all be able to have our own currency? We should just manufacture, get rid of the Fed, get rid of its ability to create dollars of any kind, and circulate whatever currency you want.
Well, I support Ron Paul.
I had an idea that happened.
But, you know, I would like to go back to constitutional money. I'd like to go back to a gold standard that served our country very well for many, many years. When we went off the gold standard in 1970, really, that's when all these inflation problems began.
It's true.
That's when all these, you know, phony bubbles were blown up in the stock market, in the real estate market. We wouldn't have all these problems. We wouldn't have $100 oil if we were still on a gold standard.
Just don't take us back to the time before refrigeration. Eric.
Remember, the refrigerators were developed under a gold standard. A lot of good things were invented with a gold standard.
All right.
Two real quick observations. Number one, OPEC's not moving away from the dollar. That was two wackos. You had Ahmadinejad and Chavez recommending, and the rest of OPEC was smart and said, no, we're not going to do that. We're holding too many dollars. If we move away from that, you're going to hit the dollar even further. So I don't think that's going to be the case. Peter, you have charts, right? Take a look at the chart of a dollar since 2002. It's straight down 25, 30% since then. Take a look at the Dow chart since then. Straight up 70, 80% since then. Take a look at the price of these. This is not a weakening dollar is not a problem
yes, it is.
for the U.S. economy. A slow kind of a drift down is fine. It enables you to go and export.
What do you think the Dow is priced in? Bananas? It's priced in dollars. If the dollar's going down, I don't care what that chart says. People who own Dow stocks are losing money. You know, the Dow is not going up as fast as the dollar is going down.
Hold on, Pat, go ahead.
We are in a global economy. We are not just in a U.S. economy. If the dollar continues to fall, it makes our exports that much more attractive to the rest of the world. Europe is having a big problem because they can't export because the euro is strong. So the dollar is a mixed signal here. It has good side and a bad side.
It's not a mixed signal. It's all bad. It's all bad. It means Americans are getting...
There are others here. Go ahead, Mike.
I've never seen a country in the history of the world that's managed to continue prosperity while its currency has continued to fall. The problem, Pat, with a falling dollar is now a lot of our companies, particularly tech, that do their manufacturing overseas, now they're starting to have to pay more for those products to be made. So there is a downside to that. And I think, you know, one of the telltale signs today was Office Depot reported bad earnings. And I think we're starting to see some of the trickle-down economic effect hitting small businesses, which are the linchpin of our economy.
But you're throwing that on the dollar. It's not the dollar. We are in the 5th year of an economic recovery. Economies slow. They just do, whether the dollar is falling or whether the dollar is rising, economy's slow.
Eric, you want to get in here, quickly, but 5 seconds.
Mike's comment of global growth outside the U.S. is exploding, and that's where the U.S. companies are selling those.